For Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onnested.
We won.
Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock has defeated Republican challenger Herschel Walker in a runoff election in Georgia. He becomes the first black senator to win a full Senate election in the state, defeating a Trump-backed challenger by more than 80,000 votes.
It is my honor to utter the four most powerful words ever spoken in a democracy. The people have spoken.
Warnock's victory gives Democrats an outright majority on the chamber for the rest of President Joe Biden's current term. That means Democrats won't have to negotiate a power-sharing deal with Republicans or bow to West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin, who stalled legislation that addresses climate change and President Joe Biden's ambitious Build Back Better agenda. Top House and Senate leaders have bestowed Congress's highest honor on law enforcement officers who defended the U.S. Capitol from the deadly January 6th siege by Trump supporters Monday, Edwin J. Vieira reports.
D.C. Police Chief Robert J. Conte III spoke about how the officers will never forget that day.
Many of us still carry the physical, mental, and emotional scars after that mob of thousands launched a violent assault in an attempt to halt the counting of electoral ballots.
Representative Benny Thompson, chair of the House subcommittee investigating the attacks, said criminal referrals will be made based on the committee's findings. A report is expected to be released sometime before Christmas. I'm Edwin J. Vieira for Pacifica Network and Public News Service.
A Manhattan jury has convicted Donald Trump's company, the Trump Organization, of tax fraud. Prosecutors outlined a scheme by top executives to avoid paying personal income taxes on perks such as apartments and luxury cars. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg said the verdict underscores in Manhattan there's one standard of justice for all.
This was a case about lying and cheating. False documents to the end of evading taxes for the benefit of individuals and the corporations. They've now been held accountable in a court of law right here in Manhattan.
A jury found two corporate entities at the Trump Organization guilty on all 17 counts, including conspiracy charges and falsifying business records. The Trump Organization could be fined up to $1.6 million. Trump himself was not on trial, but prosecutor Joshua Steinglass insisted Donald Trump explicitly sanctioned the tax fraud. The Trump Organization's lawyer has vowed to appeal. Independent Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders says he will bring a war powers resolution to the Senate floor as early as next week that would block U.S. support for the Saudi-led war on Yemen, which has been called the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Sanders told the publication The Intercept he likely has a support to pass the resolution. Some 23 million people have been severely impacted by the civil war, despite a current ceasefire. The United Nations top humanitarian official says they're providing more than 630,000 Ukrainians with different kinds of direct winter assistance, and 400 generators have been distributed to critical facilities amidst Russia's war on the country, blasting its infrastructure into a near nationwide power outage. Martin Griffiths spoke before the United Nations Security Council Tuesday.
The attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure, including power stations and heating plants, have left millions of people without access to heat, electricity, and water, adding another dangerous dimension to the humanitarian crisis caused by the war.
Russia's ambassador Vasily Nebenzia told the council the Ukrainian people are being used by the West and the criminal Ukrainian regime, he called it, as cannon fodder. Officials in Germany say thousands of police officers have carried out raids across the country against suspected far-right extremists who allegedly sought to overthrow the government in an armed coup. Federal prosecutor says some 3,000 officers conducted searches at 130 sites in 11 of Germany's 16 states today against members of the so-called Reich Citizens Movement. They say 22 German citizens were detained on suspicion of membership in a terrorist organization. 3 others, including a Russian citizen, were held on suspicion of supporting the group. Officials have repeatedly warned far-right extremists pose the biggest threat to Germany's domestic security. In the U.S., a suspect accused of fatally shooting 5 people and wounding 17 at a Colorado Springs gay nightclub was formally charged with 305 criminal counts. Tuesday, including hate crimes and murder. The attack came on the eve of an annual day of remembrance for transgender people lost to violence. According to defense lawyers, the suspect is non-binary and uses they, them pronouns. I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.